Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I have an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about the best no grind silver activities. And I wrote a list of things that I wanted to talk about, but what I mean by no grind is like, you know, all these monster zone spots where you're grinding in circles or tower spots. That's my definition for today of no grind. But some things that I think will help all of you guys catch up in the game, especially if you're a new player, how to make silver, is by doing a bunch of other things. So if you're a kind of person who doesn't like grinding circles for hours on end and you want to try something different, this is what I wanted to talk about. So I made my list of things you could do. And I actually have heard a lot of people talk about this. First and foremost is just collecting login rewards, and this is something I do on my console account as well. And on that account, it's completely free to play. I just basically play at my own pace, and most of it is from login and just doing what I normally would do. So what does that mean? You see your login rewards over here. Whether you're a new player or not, chances are you have like a monthly thing, and then if you're a new player, you have another tab like returning player or something, and then event ones that go on. So yeah, just by collecting various login rewards, sometimes they're pretty good. And like, especially right now, this month, you know, free crons, value pack, old moon blessing, all these free costumes. Yeah, so overall, pretty good. All you have to do, literally just log in, get your rewards, and do a bunch of events. And if you don't know, I don't know if this is on console as well, this like little tab right here. Basically, it tells you all the events that are happening, and yeah, make sure to at least do those. Usually they're pretty rewarding. Most of them aren't really grinding per se. It's just like, here, do this, bunch of things. Some of them do have grinding, but most of them are just, you know, play the game. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about that is a no grind activity, obviously, is fishing. Fishing got buffed many months ago. I think it's over a year at this point, and you literally just AFK fish, set it to you know how it picks like the color of fish that you could discard. I usually set mine on blue because you want to keep the gold ones and above. So yeah, that's generally good. Set your thing to fish, no matter if you're a beginner at it or you have a ton of mastery. You'll be making silver just by leaving your game on. And how much silver you make depends on your mastery and where you fish. But I have videos talking about all of that in more detail, so if you're interested in watching that, I'll leave a link in the description. That's more detailed, what you should use and everything. So if you're burnt out of the game or you just want to do something chill while you're playing your other game, fishing is probably the way to go. The next thing I want to talk about is cooking and alchemy. So these are actually pretty good, and you can do a lot of all of this without having to actually gather it. Well, there is a lot of gathering, but you could also buy it off the market as well, depending on your patience. Like, let's say you need, I don't know, let's use grapes for example. This one you can buy off the market, so it's not really like a good example, but let's say you need grapes for any sort of recipe that you're doing, right? So obviously, if there's a lot of calculators that you have to look into, and you're like, okay, so how do I make a profit off of cooking or alchemy, right? So then you put it on the calculator and you just like put it at minimum price or whatever. And also at the same time, like, you kind of just have to make sure to stock up on utensils and everything. The best way to make utensils is the housing thing. You can craft it with the rough stones, and then you just make them over time. You get them through events and everything. But yeah, you can actually do cooking without ever having to go gather. It's easier if you do, but for people who don't like doing that, here's what I'd recommend you doing. Find a recipe that you think is profitable, that changes pretty regularly because the market shifts often. So whether you're cooking or alchemy, find something that's profitable And the things that you think might be bottlenecks, I would set your nodes to actually collect those items as well. And I have a video talking about what I have for all my nodes and workers, but my advice to all of you is don't necessarily copy another person's, but tailor your own towards things that you think might be important. So for example, let's see, there used to be one over here. Like, for example, you know how I talked about grapes before? If you don't like gathering them, put a worker on the node and then you just get them over time, right? So yeah, things that you think might be a bottleneck, have your workers do that for you. And then any other materials that you need a lot of, try to just put an order on the market, and you could do that as well. So from experience doing a lot of gathering and cooking and everything, the best way I would recommend is the materials you need a lot of, you're going to be putting an order on trying to get it as cheap as possible, but you're also going to be gathering a lot of it. And then anything that you don't need as many, have your workers set it and just get it all day while you're playing, or just put it like a order on it as well. Same with alchemy. It's hard to talk about anything specific because the market changes, and even if I gave you an example today, it could be like bad tomorrow. So it's something you guys have to figure out and think that, you know, it's something you want to do. And I've had a lot of questions before talking about this, and people have asked me, how do I get into cooking? Because it's actually like easy to learn, hard to master in a way. And for example, like people who make meals, right? It tells you everything you need to make it in the tooltip. However, it's like a 10-step process. It's like you need all these meals to combine into the cron meal, but you need to get the materials to make those individual meals. So it's like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the first time you do it, here's what I'd recommend. Go to like BDOlytics, BDO Codex. Those places tell you where exactly to gather the materials you need or buy it and so on. And then you just like make a list of all the things you need. Once you get a stockpile of those, you start making them one step at a time. And then later on, eventually, once you start to get the hang of cooking, alchemy, and all that stuff, you kind of have like a rotation and stuff you need. You're like, oh, I'm low on this material. So then you just kind of figure all that out. But I understand that for new players and everything, the first time you do it, it's going to be extremely confusing because there's like 15 steps to make one thing. And you're just like, okay, so where's the profit come in? The profit comes in once you get a higher level and your mastery, so you can multi-proc. So let's say you're doing alchemy, right? And sometimes you could proc an elixir 1 to 2 times, right? The higher your mastery and level is, the higher chance you'll proc that 2-1. So that's where the profit comes in. So yeah. Also, how much you're buying things and price of things anyway. The next thing I want to talk about is your nodes and workers. So this is actually something I always tell people to start learning early on, because I remember when I first started the game, even though we didn't have all of this, like all these regions, we didn't have like all of this. When I first started, there was only Balanos, Serendia, Calpheon, Medea wasn't even out yet. And so like all this time I was trying to figure it out. I didn't even have my node set up for like probably the first few months of the game. And I always try to tell people to learn it quickly, because the longer you put it off, the workers and your contribution is just doing nothing. So as long as you're playing the game's logged in, you're going to be making silver by your workers just depositing random stuff. TLDR, you see this number for your contribution right here? Left number, use it. Make this very low as you can, because that means your contribution is used on something. Number on the right, high as possible, because it allows you to do more things. And so over time, something you could do is AFK process, which is something that I should probably be doing a little bit more. But when your workers bring back materials, let me show you Altanova as an example. This has been going for literally years for me playing the game. And the Elder Tree Timber, you could process that, you could sell it, and then make more profit out of it. So processing, it's not really a lot of silver. You're processing to like turn it into something else. So like whether it's you're using it for making horse gear or a new boat or, you know, new gear or something, that's where the big profit is. Turning things into, like, let's say, let's talk about this. Birch timber, this is the one you gather, very easy. We'll call it tier 1. Planks are tier 2. You process timbers into planks, and then you process planks into plywood. This is what I see a lot of people doing. And is it profitable? Yeah, a little bit. But what you really want to do is figure out, oh, okay, so now that I have these tier 3 plywoods, what can I make with that? And then that's where all the profit comes in. So yeah, there's a lot of materials. Here's what I would do. If you are on PC, F2, adventure board. This is all just the in-game stuff. You could go to other sites that have the same thing. But in-game, crafting notes, type the thing you're looking for. Let's use this, for example. And then it tells you what can you use these saps for, and it tells you what you can make out of it. So once you process your materials, turn that into something even further, and that's where the profit comes in. And you can do all of this from town, so that's pretty helpful. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about kind of goes back into cooking a little bit. So Imperial delivery, you want to try to push Guru as fast as possible because it allows you to do Imperial cooking. And same with Alchemy. There's an Imperial delivery person in almost every town. Here in Heidel, the person is like down here. And contribution point total divided by 2 is how many you could turn in. It's kind of like tax-free money, and it's always profitable for cooking. And so basically the idea of that is how do you just delete materials out of the game so there's no abundance of it, which I think is a good thing, like overall. And so you do Imperial delivery, and then you just get silver, and then that's good. So the higher your level, like let's say Master or Guru, you make more money based on your tiers. So that's why I always tell people try to at least push Guru cooking as fast as possible. And then you can do all that. And then after that is just more contribution points, more silver. The next thing I want to talk about is another activity that is not really a do daily thing, but it's passive silver over time, which is Royal Workshops and Crates. So, as we all know, Royal Workshops has been the thing that they added, I think probably around like a year or 2 ago at this point. And then basically, you have all your workers running, and every day, this is what you should do. So every day you get 1 free refresh, and then you refresh it. Ideally you want to get the big ticket items. Most of the time you don't. Here's the percentages, and then you get the materials. So what I'd recommend is putting a bunch of materials that you need to do everything in your storage, like right next to it, because it shortens the time. And then over time, it just like makes things. And I actually recently did a trade turn in, and it was good. But here's how it works in case you've never done Royal Workshops before. You see there's 2 colors, green and yellow, like what they make, right? So what you do is you set your worker, and then it just kind of makes stuff over time, right? And like you collect, I don't know, let's call these like the regular materials, right? And then once you get a bunch of regular materials, they'll be all in here, right? So all of these, consider these regulars, and then you want the ones that are like a yellow border-ish, and then obviously the other ones. So then the regular materials, you use those, and then you could turn it into all of this as well. Sometimes you require the special things, and then so green materials, you always want those running. The yellow ones are the like workshops you use to get the stuff afterwards. And so the yellow ones, like let's say you're making this, you see the sell price of it, that's what you do to trade and turn in. So it's one of those things, you set it and then check in like once a week, and then there's just passive silver going in. And also just making trade crates. And I have been slowly doing this with the elder tree timber because there's zero shot I'm going to process like 2 million of them, because I'd rather grind, to be honest. I'd rather fish. I'd rather do anything else. So what I'm doing is turning them into crates. I should be doing that in a further distance for more profit, but I'm lazy, and I'm just going to do a trade turn in at some point. And then here's what I'd recommend. Do it in as many towns as you can. Send like the materials to other places. Get it done as fast as possible. I think Calpheon is probably the best one because it has the biggest city and it has a lot of like houses and everything. So then that means the more workers you have, the more you'll be able to just like turn these crates in. And so like I have a bunch of crates going on. It may not look like profit, but the real profit is based on distance and then level and your trade level and mastery, I guess. So it's one of those things, you set it to go and then you check in again 6 months later and you're like, ooh, free money. And then suddenly you're just like, boom, 5 billion silver later or whatever you're doing. That's always nice, right? So yeah, royal workshops and trade crates. Especially if you've been playing this game for a long time, chances are you have some workers and going off and just collecting materials like these timbers, and you're like, oh, I have 2 million of them. Zero shot I'm going to process them. Turn it into crates, set it to go over time, and then do a fat turn in one day. And is it more or less silver? It really just depends on your level and everything and what you're actually making. But usually, yeah, it's I would say in terms of time to silver, like by you just not doing anything, it's a pretty good return. So anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is doing your bosses. And if you are at the point where you don't like grinding, but you still want a little bit of silver, start doing your Black Shrine bosses. And I would honestly recommend doing the party ones at very minimum. Try to do them on hard if you can, but like just doing them is better than not doing them. So like, yeah, join a guild that does it, you know, find people in the party finder. Here's what you could do. Just type in like find party platoon, and then depending on the time of day, I would say probably Fridays and Saturdays before reset are the days where you'll see a lot of like ads going on, and then people are like looking for people for whatever they're doing. So yeah, even if you mostly play solo, you're not in a guild, you could still group up with people, but the best way is probably just to join a guild that does it. And yeah, so what I'd recommend doing is, yeah, doing your party bosses, and then if you can do the other ones, I'd recommend it. At least start learning the mechanics of it, even if you don't have the gear for Calamity 8, 9, 10. But the more you do it, the easier it gets over time. And, you know, it's really nice when you're able to actually do these comfortably. And let's say, you know, the day you do actually feel like grinding an hour and you're just like, oh, okay, let me just go pop this buff real quick for the entire server. You would be surprised that, like, it's actually nice. Some days you're just like, oh, I'm waiting for that buff to happen during the day. Yeah, you'd be the one doing it, and then that's actually really nice too. So yeah, it's something you should learn to do. The rewards are pretty decent, and I have videos of all of that, talking about how much I've made from doing all these. I would say on average, if you are able to do Calamity 8, 9, or 10, just like any of these, and then do your party bosses, you're roughly making about 5 to 10 billion a week, if sometimes more. I think the most I've ever made in like a 2-hour time period just doing this, probably like 19 billion silver for like an hour or two activity. But that does require you to actually know what you're doing. But the more you do it, just more silver you make. So yeah, definitely something I would recommend. It's something I wish Pearl Abyss would, you know, start working on and developing all these bosses like into Calamity 8, 9, and 10 faster. And so it's just like, I just hope the next thing they make is a blue boss, because right now we have Sangoon, Golden Pig, and Gumiho at 8, 9, and 10. We need a moon boss just to complete the trifecta of all of this. And then, yeah, I hope it's Bari or Sangashi. Honestly, this one is probably the most fun of all of them, in my opinion. So yeah, anyway, those are the things you could do to make silver in the game without particularly grinding circles all day. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something. And if you need help with anything, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. Just leave a comment and just ask, or join the Discord and all that stuff. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you guys come back. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace!